What's up guys, it's Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I wanted to do a quick video showing you guys my top Linux distributions. Now, as I stated in the intro of the video, I want to talk about my top Linux distributions. And these are some of the distributions that I recommend to either new users or people that have been using Linux for a minute and they want to kind of hop into something a little bit more challenging. And so this list is my list. This is all based on my preference. I've tested out these distributions in VMs for long periods of time. I've used them for different purposes, and I wanted to share with you guys my list. Someone actually asked me a little while back, they was like, can you do a video talking about the list of distributions that you actually like and that you recommend? And so I wanted to go through that list real quick, just to kind of show you guys, give you guys my list and what I recommend to people when they're just getting into using Linux. So let me go on and get started with the list. Okay, cool. So I have on my browser, and the first one on the list that I want to talk about and show you guys is Ubuntu. Now, I really like the Ubuntu distribution, and the reason I put it on my list is because Ubuntu was the first distribution that I was actually introduced to when I started using Linux. And this was back in like 2008 when I first started playing around with Linux. It was, I think the version was like Ubuntu 11 or 12. And so I fell in love with Linux, and like I said, this is how I learned Linux, and so it kind of has a nostalgic feel whenever I use Ubuntu, because I've been using Linux for a while and I've been switching around the different distributions, but I always end up playing with Ubuntu for whatever reason. I just always end up back there. And so Ubuntu has what they call a couple different flavors. They have Ubuntu, which is the XFCE version, which you guys know I'm a big fan of XFCE desktop. And so Ubuntu is my flavor of choice when it comes to Ubuntu. But they do have a KDE version, they have a Budgie version, I think, and they have a couple other versions of Ubuntu out there, or flavors out there. So just check them out. They even have that Ubuntu Studio that I talked about in my last video, where I got that LMMS application from. Which is a studio version of Ubuntu. It just has a whole bunch of tools pre-installed for setting up your own either video editing, audio editing, all that stuff, setting up your own computer with these applications pre-installed. So that's the first one on my list, is Ubuntu. Like I stated, it has a big community behind it. You can read right here, it says Ubuntu is a community developed operating system that combines the elegance and ease of use. And like I stated, it has that XFCE desktop. It's good for desktops and laptops, netbooks, all that good stuff, as well as older hardware. That's one reason I like Ubuntu as well, because you can recycle those old computers that may be sitting around, because it's not that heavy on the resources. But that's my first pick. So if you guys are interested in it, Ubuntu is a good option, especially for new users and people that are just getting into learning Linux and want a desktop environment that's very good to use or very simple to use. Now, moving on to the next one, and the next one I want to talk about is ElementaryOS. Now, this is for those Mac users that are out there. I really like this desktop environment because it's very clean, sleek, and it looks like Mac OS. And I know a lot of people out there use Apple products, and so this is kind of like it has like the closest theme to a Mac environment that you'll see in Linux. Now there are some that are out there, but this one actually works well. What I'm saying? It replaces your Windows and Mac OS system, you know, because it has that design, that look and feel of a Mac OS environment, but you're actually using Linux. And I try to recommend some of those things. I talked about Linux FX a while back, which is kind of like a Windows 10 clone, but I believe it's kind of like behind a paywall, so I don't really talk about it much. But ElementaryOS, you know, is free and open source, you know, but it has that Mac feel to it, you know, similar to Linux FX that had that Windows 10 feel. But this is kind of similar, but it's a full-blown Linux operating system. I recommend it if you're coming over from Apple products and you want to still kind of have that feel, but also know that you're using a Linux operating system or a different operating system. Then check out ElementaryOS, because like I said, it's very good for people that are new to Linux as well. I'm not sure what version they're on currently. Oh, actually, this is the version right here, so 5.1 Hera. So check it out for yourself, man. It's a great distribution. I really like the way it look. I've played around with it in a virtual machine. I haven't done a review in a while on ElementaryOS, but I definitely recommend people check out this distribution. It's one of the best distributions for new users, especially those that's coming from Mac OS. Now, moving on to the next one, and the next one is Manjaro. Manjaro is a Arch-based distribution. It's one of the most popular Arch-based distributions, in my opinion. I think a lot of people that are just getting into Arch Linux and they want to try Arch Linux, they try Manjaro first. It's always recommended. And when I first checked out Arch, I tried Antergos, but once I found out about Manjaro, I quickly switched over and started using Manjaro just to check it out, because I heard great things about it. Well, Manjaro is a great Arch-based Linux distribution that you can use. It's stable, you know what I'm saying, and you don't have many problems that you would have if you're not, you know, an expert Linux user. This introduces people that or have been using Linux for a while to the Arch way of doing things. It'll help you get adjusted to using the package manager, which is Pacman. They also have a software center, you know, but when you install full-blown Arch, it's very difficult if you're new to Linux to actually install Arch. But yeah, if we read a little bit here, it says Manjaro is a professionally made operating system that is suitable replacement for Windows and Mac OS. That's kind of like the running theme for all these distributions, you know, because most people use Windows and Mac OS, so they're trying to bring more people over from those different operating systems. Just show you that it's a operating system that can replace everything you do on both of those operating systems. But it says multiple desktop environments are available through our official and community editions. So yeah, just check it out for yourself. They have, you know, different desktop environments. They have LXD or LXQT, KDE version, I believe, and a GNOME version. Pretty much all of these have a GNOME version, that's kind of like one of the most popular desktop environments on the Linux platform, but you're using a Arch-based distribution, so that'll help you guys get adjusted to actually using Arch by trying out Manjaro or EndeavourOS or one of those Arch-based distributions that are out there. But check this one out for yourself, you know what I'm saying? They have a big community behind it as well. You can find more information within the Arch community. Since this is Arch based, you know, a lot of the issues that you may find or that you may face or Arch related, so you can find a lot of answers within the Arch community as well. But they do have a lot of information within the Manjaro community as well that will help you, you know, if you run into any issues. But this is a great distribution that I want you guys to check out. It's one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I need to quickly bring up a distribution, then I try to go to Manjaro first. Now let's go down and move on to the next one. And the next one I recommend that you guys try is Linux Mint. Now this is a Ubuntu based Linux distribution. So it's pretty much a redesign of Ubuntu, and someone came up with their own distribution based on Ubuntu. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of distributions out there have done that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them even use the repositories for Ubuntu. And the reason I put this one on the list is because it's good for new users. It kind of has that Windows look and feel, so you guys can quickly pick up how to actually use the operating system, you know. And they have all the different desktops. One thing that their kind of flagship desktop is the Cinnamon desktop, and which, like I said, it has that Windows feel, so you can quickly pick up this operating system and understand how to actually use it and run with it, you know, from there. But go on, check this one out as well. This is one of my favorite distributions that I like to recommend for people to actually use, because I know it's stable. It uses Ubuntu. Like I said, it's a Ubuntu based operating system, and Ubuntu is very stable. Therefore, Linux Mint is stable as well. So check it out. You know, it's a good operating system for you to check out, or a good Linux distribution for you to check out. And you can do pretty much anything you could do in Windows, Mac OS, you could do over here as well. You know what I'm saying? And that applies to all the distributions that I'm showing you. Now, the next one I wanted to show you is a little bit different. Now, I was in contact with the people that created this distribution, and it's Zorin OS. I was trying to get some pictures, or not some pictures, but I was trying to use their logo for something. And so I contacted them. They were real receptive and helped me out by sending me, you know, the pictures or the images that they wanted me to use for a thumbnail or something I was doing. I think I was doing an article at the time. But this is a pretty cool operating system. I looked into it. I did a review a long time ago on Zorin, and based on what I'm seeing, it's getting better and better. I haven't installed it in a while. I need to reinstall it. But Zorin OS is a great distribution, and based on the reviews and based on what I've seen, it's still trucking along. They still developing on it. They still releasing new, or coming out with new releases of Zorin OS. So I recommend you guys check this out as well. And the only reason I just kind of put this one on the list, because I know a little bit about it, and I actually contacted developers at one point. So that's one of the main reasons I put this one on the list. But yeah, I definitely recommend people that are new to Linux to actually try Zorin OS as well. It's very simple to use. They have different desktop environments. It kind of looks like Mac OS a little bit, without the toolbar at the bottom. Well, without the launcher at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of mixed between Windows and Windows and Mac OS. But you know, it's a very nice distribution, and I really like it. So I recommend you guys check it out. That's why I put it on the list. Okay, so the next one I wanted to show you guys is MX Linux. Now I really like this one. I just looked at it a while back. I did a review on this one a while back, and the reason I put this one on there, because its flagship desktop environment is XFCE. I really enjoy, you know, XFCE. You guys know that, but MX, you know, Linux has been around, you know, for a little while, and they have a real good community behind it. You know, it has a beautiful desktop environment. The way they design XFCE, you know, it kind of like really stands out. I like how stable it is, as well as, you know, the performance that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? And I've actually installed this on physical hardware. I haven't just played around with it in a virtual machine. I installed this distribution on physical hardware. I have another laptop that I play around with that I install MX Linux on, and that's just mainly to see how stable it is and just to play around with it and have something different other than my main desktop environment or my main desktop that I use. So I put this one on the list. I really like this one. You know what I'm saying? It's ranked pretty high on Distro Watch right now, so you guys need to check it out. But this is one of the distributions that I recommend, that I really like, and is on my list. Now, the last distribution I want to talk about is good old Arch Linux. And Arch Linux, I really enjoy. Ever since I found Arch Linux, I have been a big fan of the actual project. And one thing I like about it is that it went its own direction from a lot of other distributions that are out there. You know, it has its own package manager, its own repositories, you know, all that good stuff. Everything is, you know, its own. It's kind of a totally separate distribution. Like, it's no ties to anything else other than like desktop environments and all that stuff. And of course, the Linux kernel. You know, it uses the Linux kernel, but the way Orch is, you know, is a very simple, you know, lightweight distribution, like it says on the website. And one thing that I really enjoy about Arch Linux is that you can set it up however you want to. Now, I know a lot of distributions out here, you know, offer like a slimmed down version of their desktop environment where it doesn't have certain applications on it. But with Arch Linux, you can start from the ground up, you know what I'm saying? Base Arch, you know, is no desktop environments, nothing on the actual install once you install it other than base applications. And you have to walk through the full process of setting up everything. That way you know what's all on your system. That's the cool thing about using Arch Linux. You install everything, and I'm like a fan of building stuff, you know what I'm saying? Or like I used to build model cores, and so working with Arch is similar to that. You have to put everything together. You have to put all the pieces together, whether it's setting up the hard drives the way you want it, because that's another thing with Arch. It doesn't have an installer. You have to kind of set everything up. Now, there are some scripts out there you can run that'll help you install Arch, but you have to go through and physically set up the whole machine. You have to create your boot directories. You have to set up your drives, your hard drives, set up your partitions, mount them in the proper location, and then set up your FS tab. You have to walk through the full process, and that's the cool part about Arch Linux that makes it stand out from others. And you build the system based on your requirements, or based on the way you want it to look, the way you want it to feel, you know, all that good stuff. Now, it uses the Pacman package manager, and they have a huge repository of software, and a lot of these other distributions have the same thing, but I just really enjoy this when they have like the AUR, you know, the Arch user repository that has a whole bunch of software that's created by the community that people put in there. And yeah, of course, it's tested and everything before it's put out there, and you can flag applications that haven't been updated or that have bugs and stuff in it. But Arch Linux is great, and I highly recommend it once you kind of understand how the Linux operating system actually works. I don't look at it, I don't want to put it out there that this is very simple to use. I mean, it's not that difficult to use. You just really have to understand how a computer works and how to set up an operating system from the ground up in order to get Arch properly installed on your hardware. And just so you know, I'm an Arch user, by the way. My main system has Arch Linux installed on it, where I walk through the full process of doing the install. I didn't use any scripts or anything like that. And one thing I recommend when you're trying to get into Arch, just go on and install it on a virtual machine. That's why I recommend, if you want to install Arch, install Manjaro first, and then install VirtualBox, and then walk through the installation of Arch Linux within that virtual machine. That way you can get everything down on what you have to do before you try to install it on your physical hardware. Otherwise, you may get stuck. You may not have networking, or something like that may happen where you can't, you know, pull up. If that's your only computer, you're not going to be able to pull up the Arch installation guide. Now, they do have it on the ISO where you can pull it up, but that's even more difficult if you not that great with the command line as well. So I recommend this for people that have been using Linux for a while and they want a kind of a challenge, which is what I like. I like to challenge myself, and Arch Linux was a challenge, and it's very satisfying when you actually complete the install of Orange Linux, you know, go through that full process. It's very satisfying, you know what I'm saying. You kind of get a high, you know what I'm saying, after you actually finish it and have it all set up and working the way you want it. So check out Orange Linux if you're not a new user, you've been using Linux for a minute, you know, check out Orange Linux. That may be something you want to check out and install yourself. But that's all I wanted to show you guys today. I wanted to go through, you know, my top Linux distributions that I recommend people either use as a new user or, you know, all the way up to, you know, a more advanced distribution, Orange Linux. But that's my list, you know what I'm saying. I really recommend all of those distributions, so check it out for yourself. You know, do your research, you know what I'm saying, and just see what you actually like and try running a lot of these distributions within VirtualBox, and that way you can get a feel for what the system will be once you have it installed on your physical hardware. Don't just go out there and say, oh, I'm gonna install this. Try it in VirtualBox first. Even if you own Windows, you know what I'm saying, you haven't switched over to Linux, you know, you can install VirtualBox on your Windows computer and Mac OS, and then try out those Linux distributions just to see what you like and what you're interested in using. And then just once you pick whichever one you want to use, go on and try to install it on your hardware. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down in the comment boxes below. Even though I won't answer them for this is my list, you know what I'm saying, this is my list. So I'm just playing. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down in the comment boxes below. And of course, keep it techie.